There's a radio station near me that's been playing nothing but Christmas music since before Thanksgiving. How do I know? You ask too many questions. Holly jolly Christmas. A recent Quinnipiac University national poll has some very dire news for President Joe Biden. His job approval rating sits at a lousy 36%. That's the lowest number for Biden in the Q poll so far in his presidency, and it's part of a broader several months-long sag in polling for the president. CNN's poll of polls, which is the average of the last 5 national polls, has Biden at 44% approval. The Real Clear Politics polling average pegs his approval at just under 42%. The 538 average has the president at 42.5% approval. It's all pretty similar. And it's all bad news for Democrats and Joe Biden. The combination of the lingering COVID-19 pandemic, highlighted in late November by the emergence of the Omicron variant, the disastrous pullout of American troops from Afghanistan, and the rapid increase in inflation and prices have combined to create a toxic political environment for President Biden at the moment. Now, while there's no real debate that Biden is in a very bad place with the American public, there is another very important question that Democrats and their strategists have to be asking themselves. Whether it's going to get worse, and if so, how much worse is it going to get? The answer, at least judging from recent history, is that Biden would seem to be nearing his lowest possible polling ebb. The worst job approval rating Donald Trump ever scored in Gallup data was 37% in January 2019. Barack Obama's low point was 40% in August 2011. He also hit that number several times in early 2014, for what it's worth. Now, those numbers suggest that almost no matter what happens next, Biden's approval rating is unlikely to dip all that much below where it currently sits. There appears to be an almost rock-solid base around 40% that, unless there are major outside factors, simply won't abandon the president of their chosen party. And notice that I said an almost rock-solid base, because there is some evidence of a president not just losing support from the other party and independents, but from his own party as well. That nightmare scenario is the presidency of George W. Bush, who saw his approval rating go as low as 25% in the midst of the global financial crisis in October 2008. 25%! But that was also a drastically different time in his presidency. Bush was 3 months away from the end of his second term, with 2 midterm elections already under his belt. Biden is just over a year into his first term. So barring that sort of massive global collapse, it seems unlikely Biden's approval could come close to where Bush eventually found himself. The problem for Biden and his party is that even if he is now nearing his polling nadir, he needs to begin to bounce back, and quickly, before the midterm campaign season begins in earnest. Historically, seat losses for a president's party in a midterm election when the president's approval rating is less than 50%, as Biden's is now, are in the upper 30s. A shift that would give Republicans not just the House majority, but also a comfortable margin from which to govern it. As Gallup's Jeffrey Jones noted in a post back in 2018, quote, "Among presidents with approval ratings below 50%, Jimmy Carter had the smallest seat loss of 11 in 1978 when his approval rating was 49%. Barack Obama and the Democrats lost just 13 seats in 2014, but that was 4 years after they lost a post-World War II high of 63 seats in 2010, end quote. So, even if Biden was to match the smallest seat loss in history for a president under 50% job approval, Democrats would still lose the majority by several seats. That reality seems to be sinking in for many House Democrats at the moment. Already 2 committee chairs, John Yarmuth of Kentucky and Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas, have announced their plans to retire after this Congress. Odd decisions, unless you think you are likely to be in the minority party sometime very soon. In fact, there are already 18 Democrats who are either retiring or running for another office in 2022, as opposed to just 12 Republicans. Given that open seats are always more vulnerable to switching party control, that disparity is a problem for Democrats. And if Biden's job approval numbers stay low for the next few months, you could well see a number of other members call it quits too, choosing to go out on their own terms rather than be unceremoniously swept out of office in a major national Republican wave. Yes, the 2022 election is less than a year away, which is still some time, but presidential approval ratings don't usually change drastically over such a short period of time. Democrats need Biden to bottom out and begin the climb back, and soon. And that is the point. We make New Point episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. Check them all out.